What is happening there, Reject Nation? We are going to watch today from our buddy Paul over at Heavy Spoilers, Loki Episode 5 Theories. And a whole bunch. Timekeepers, Kang, Miss Minutes, Loki Variants, Ravonna, Mobius, and more. More than that?
Mephisto.
Yeah, John, that joke's not old at all.
It's not. It's my favorite joke.
It's your favorite joke. Yeah, jokes that no one's bored of that joke yet. Especially not me. Especially I'm not bored of that joke.
Yes, and I will continue to make it.
Well, it's funny, so keep making it.
Yeah, obviously, Mephisto jokes are here to stay.
Welcome to the Heavy Spoilers Show. I'm your host Paulius and Paulius, and after the ending of Loki episode 4, I think we have a lot to talk about. In this video, heads will roll as we go through what's happening with the Timekeepers,
Let's just have eyes dimmed,
and what's with all the Loki variants in the post-credit scene.
Almost
Full
got me.
spoilers ahead, so if you don't want anything ruined, then I recommend you say bye-bye Frost and exit the video as fast as possible. Smash the thumbs up button if you enjoy the breakdown, and make sure you subscribe as we're in the end game of the series now, and you definitely don't want to miss our breakdowns. With that out of the way, thank you for clicking the video. Now let's get into our Loki episode 5 theories. Okay, so episode 4 ends with Loki and Sylvie coming face to face with the Squidward trio, aka the Timekeepers. After throwing her sword, she beheaded the main one, and this exposed that they were actually androids. Life model decoys, or rather LMDs, are something that have popped up in the Marvel Universe at several points, and typically they're used for a reveal just like this. They often indicate that someone has either duplicated themselves in order to appear a certain way, or that someone else is behind it all. Think Agatha all along and you get the picture. Now, when they're broken apart, the robots look quite a lot like Doombots, and though he could be behind it, I actually think that it's unlikely he would be in the TVA. Instead, I think there are some far more likely candidates that are pulling the strings. Now, the first potential is He Who Remains. In order to discuss him, we have to talk about how the universe works, and like all things, it too comes to an end. Now, when the universe dies, it creates something known as a heat death that starts off the next universal cycle, and in the comics we discover that He Who Remains was a TVA member from the previous one. He created the Timekeepers and gave them information so that on the next go they wouldn't make the same mistakes, and if we are keeping in with the comics, then he could be behind it all. Now, I think it's pretty unlikely that it's him, as he's always been more of a force for good, and the TVA themselves are quite sinister. Thus, it could actually be Kang the Conqueror, who has also been involved with the organization. Right after the release of Endgame, many people thought that Kang would be next, as when characters tend to mess with time, it tends to mess back, and he follows not long after. Jonathan Majors has been cast as the villain, and we do know that he's set to show up in Ant-Man Quantumania.
I find it so funny how with Kang the Conqueror, I know there are some people who are like, we don't know it's going to be Kang, don't let this be another WandaVision situation with Mephisto. Don't let it be another one of those for all the fans. But it's a very different situation because of the fact that Kang the Conqueror, as pointed out by Paul, is going to be showing up in Ant-Man Quantumania. At the very least, he will be showing up. So it's not that far down the line. And you know how connective tissue based all this MCU stuff is. So it's kind of funny because he is kind of like the new Mephisto, but one that more people actually believe.
They're only going to contain this highly significant villain to just one Ant-Man movie, and that's it.
Yeah.
However, it would be pretty cool to see him pop up at the end of the show in a sort of Thanos at the end of the Avengers moment, so we could get a tease for what's coming down the line.
I think it would be
Kang
a cameo.
comes from Chronopolis, which was possibly spotted in a bubble in the quantum realm during Ant-Man and the Wasp. Potentially, this is where the TVA is located, and though it is typically placed in the null time zone, I think it would be a very cool reveal that brings everything together. Now, if Kang is behind it all, then it is possible that he travelled through every timeline and that he found the one in which he could rule for eternity. We saw something similar in Infinity War when we learned there were over 14 million different scenarios for the Thanos battle, but only one in which the Avengers won. Potentially, Kang could be in the one where he is the ruler of all time, and in order to stop anyone from taking his throne, he's been pruning branches throughout the multiverse. Kang may have taken those who created Nexus events and wiped their memories before putting them into his ranks so that he could continue his quest to exterminate everything in the multiverse. All that would be left was a dimension in which he was unchallenged, and potentially the Nexus event that Sylvie would have created may have been her overthrowing him. Obviously, that's a completely wild theory, but let me know below if you disagree.
I mean, I do feel like it would be really neat if the TVA is located in Chronopolis, especially if indeed this whole thing with Ravonna being set up to be tied to Kang the Conqueror, and it really is Kang who's the one controlling it. They specifically said Kang is going to be primarily featured in Ant-Man Quantumania. It would just make more sense to have that complete tie-in there, where, you know, the quantum realm and all that is mainly explored in the Ant-Man movies. To have the TVA in Chronopolis, in the Chronopolis being in the quantum realm as teased in Ant-Man, it would just tie it all together in a much neater bow, in my personal opinion. I would love that. That would be a very neat reveal.
Well, yeah, and it seems like then it would be that Loki is setting up way more than just, you know, Doctor Strange 2 and Spider-Man No Way. Maybe it connects to all of the upcoming films and sets up things little by little for all of them.
Definitely.
Now there is another person that I think could be behind it all, and they've already been in the show. What if, just sit down for a second. What if this entire thing is actually Miss Minutes? Now we know that there's an elevator button that leads directly to her, and it is possible that she's the big bad. The timekeepers are robots, clocks are of course mechanical, and the city that the TVA is based at also looks like the inner workings of a clock. She's popped up in the series, so it wouldn't come completely out of the blue, and when she was talking to Loki, it seemed like she was a recording but also live at the same time. So lots of weird things going on with the character, and with Tara Strong voicing her, I think it would be a cool little twist to have it revealed that
She said Miss Minutes, it's not the last we've seen of her.
Now it could also be a version of Loki doing it, and potentially the show may be pulling from the graphic novel Agent of Asgard, in that it was revealed there was an older version of the character pulling the strings, and we did theorise that Richard E. Grant would be playing this. Though we got the casting right, and he is going to be an old version of Loki, judging from the post-credits scene, it seems like we were way off in terms of his role. However, it is worth going over him, and in the graphic novel, we learn that it was old Loki all along. He was the one manipulating the younger version to excel to greatness, and considering Loki has been nothing but a stepping stone in the MCU, I think that it would be a great reveal.
Oh man, I love that. I really love that. Considering that you have your main characters, a Loki variant, Sylvie, another Loki variant who was teased as like the antagonist of the show. Come to find out, no, she's not really the main antagonist of the series. But if you found out that it was really a different variant, that's why it's all about Loki within the TVA. When you do your TVA-based show, it's all about Loki. Oh, that would be actually really neat.
Well, and it would continue the theme of literal self-confrontation and growth through experiencing yourself through different lenses and everything like that, you know?
I would love that. Yeah. I would love it.
Yeah.
Oh,
Be a pretty
man.
cool reveal.
The Miss Minutes one, I've heard kind of tossed around a little bit. I don't buy it for some reason. While she is like the tour guide and your little paperclip helper friend, Clippy, in so many ways, it would be amusing to me. Might even feel a little bit more even Wizard of Oz-esque to that degree, perhaps. I don't know. There's just something about it that it's not really clicking. I just can't see it right now. I can't imagine that. I feel like it'd be kind of goofy.
Yeah, I can't exactly see it, and I feel like it would be the sort of thing where if it is Miss Minutes, then there would have to be a reveal that, like, she's not just this little sentient clock animation. Like, she's got to be some other substantial being.
That's what I meant by another, like, it would be a human.
There would be, like, another reveal beyond that reveal.
Yeah. The most MCU weight would be Kang, but I think the most character weight would be another Loki.
Yeah,
that would be cool.
I'm rooting for that theory.
Yeah, that would be cool. That'd be great.
Now, at the end of the episode, we meet several versions of Loki, and it does seem like next episode, the main variant will be recruiting more of these in order to go and take down the TVA. This would explain why Boat Loki pops up in the show, and also why in the trailers there's a brief glimpse at King Loki. However, beyond that, there may be one hiding under our noses, and it is possible that Ravonna Renslayer herself is a Loki. The series has confirmed that race and gender don't matter when it comes to who is a Loki.
Nah,
and you might be a Loki.
That'd
you
be
might
cool.
be a Loki. You might be a Loki. So bad.
golly.
Because of this, Renslayer could even be one herself, and this would explain
sure
why
about
she
that.
felt some sympathy towards Sylvie when she was a child. Similar to how Mobius is in a loop, constantly working with Loki, Renslayer may too be stuck in one, constantly hunting them. Hell, the TVA aren't above bringing Lokis in to hunt other Lokis, and this entire show started off on the idea that Tom Hiddleston's version would be tracking down Sylvie. Thus, it does make sense that she herself could be one, and because the TVA are able to wipe memories, this would be completely unbeknownst to her. Now, there's no precedent for this in the comics, but I have no idea why she was so sympathetic towards Sylvie and why she allowed her to escape. In the elevator, she also smirked when Sylvie asked what Nexus event she created, and though she pretended not to know, she clearly did. And I also know it was you who farted in the elevator, yeah? Get that smile off your face.
I mean, I kind of just took the whole thing with her letting her go is because she wasn't in the position she's in now, Ravonna. She was a Minuteman, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and she was like a younger agent, and to me, it just seemed kind of like that trope of the sympathetic for the child situation. I don't know, it's kind of odd that she would have sympathy and then to grow into this very cold character, but maybe the journey of letting her go is what made her turn so cold and let her down kind of this path to not have that sympathy for Variants, where she had a moment of weakness back then. I looked at it more like that. I didn't really view it as like, oh, there's a big Loki twist reveal here.
Yeah, I didn't really read any sympathy out of that moment so much as it was just like, it's little kid Loki, got one over on me and I wasn't able to catch her.
Yeah.
It just seemed more like a true error for Ravonna, at least.
Now, maybe this entire show is her simply attempting to be the superior Loki, and the Nexus event that Sylvie created was just her existing. I do feel that we're gonna get a twist that someone who we think is one character is actually a Loki themselves, and if this had to be anyone, my money would be on Renslayer. However, she also may simply be the same as her comic book counterpart and working for Kang. In the comics, the two had a relationship, and it would make a lot of sense if she is indeed tied in with him. Now lastly, I want to talk about what's happened to Mobius. In the episode, he was apparently killed, but Loki showed at the end that the sticks of death could be survived as he arrived in a decimated New York. Potentially, the same thing happened with Mobius, and he may even have been taken to somewhere else in the timeline. Trailers for the show have had him driving along in a jeep in what looks like Egypt, and thus we do know that he's probably coming back at some point, unless this is all a trick, which, you won't fool me, Mephisto, I know it's you. Now, on top of this, I think that there may be other versions of Mobius that are running around. In Renslayer's office, he noticed there were several ring stains which she said had been left by him, and even though he brushed it off, he clearly thought it wasn't me. Now he also, so really bad this video, now he also looked at a pen which he said had been given to her by another agent. In episode 4, he looked longingly over this, and it is possible that it comes from his real life. In the comics, there were several versions of Mobius, and shoutouts to ZGen Media on Twitter for pointing out that the figure we see dotted about on posters does look a lot like the comic book version of him. So potentially, the one we see in Egypt is another version of the character.
That's so funny because in New Rockstars, when they were breaking that photo down, we were like, it's probably just a reference poster to kind of like those classic.
It's just supposed to look like Big Brother.
Kind of like those like 1940s vibes, like a Rod Sterling-esque type of characters. Yeah. We thought we really think it was a character that would actually come to fruition. Yeah, when you put the photos side by side, they actually do look remarkably similar.
Yeah, when you also compare to the comic book iteration of Mobius too, it lends that much more credence to it.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah. Oh, that would be a great reveal. Yeah. I mean, I don't think they'd go back to that poster. I don't think anyone would be like, is that what that poster
was? The at all.
But I would love it if that poster serves as some kind of clue. Because they did really hone in on that poster.
And they hone in on a lot of details around the TVA.
Maybe we weren't supposed to be looking at the quote, but we were supposed to be looking at the face.
Yeah.
That would be a great magic trick, I think.
I definitely think that Mobius is stuck in his own loop though, and I hope at some point that he breaks it and gets to ride that jet ski. Just give this man a jet ski. Give this man a jet ski. Now the pruning itself may not actually be wiping people out, and judging off what's going on in the post-credit scene, I think the most likely scenario is that the characters are being teleported to a garbage timeline, also known as 2020. The post-credit scene very much feels like it's a dumping ground, and it's almost a sort of scrapyard timeline in which variants that are no longer needed are sent to. This would mean that Mobius might be there too, and I'd love it if they just had one big happy reunion and he got to ride off on his jet ski. Now, obviously, I'd
Needed
love
in
to
the
hear
real
your
world.
thoughts and theories, so make sure you comment below and let me know.
Thanks for the video, Paul. By the way, guys, I just want to say, sincerely, Paul is someone who I feel like I've been talking with daily for like the past few weeks, and he's just an incredibly huge asshole. Can't stand the guy.
What a dick.
Never helps out with anything, and you try to open up with the guy or become a bit vulnerable, and he just dismisses you. He's just so self-absorbed and only talks about himself and never inquires at all or tries to lend a helping hand, but is constantly asking for shit.
Real
The
freebird,
worst,
that
the
guy.
absolute worst guy ever, and no one should like him.
And not his videos, especially not his videos. And no one should subscribe to his channel, and no one should turn on the notification bell for those.
No, Paul's amazing. After doing YouTube for so long, it's honestly rare to come across someone as incredible of a human being as he is. There's very few who I could say that about. Me, maybe John. Not Cosmic Wonder.
Definitely not Cosmic Wonder or Tyrone.
Definitely not them.
Not Tyrone.
But Paul, yeah, he's one of them.
Yeah,
Probably the only one.
He's the only one.
Hey guys, what are your theories on Loki episode 5? Leave your thoughts down below. Subscribe to Heavy Spoilers and Cosmic Wonder and Tyrone if you haven't done so. Click that bell, hit that like button, and let's do a... Look, if there's anyone who's a Loki variant, anyone, it is so blatantly obvious who a Loki variant would be. I've gotten to know a pretty good handful of the people, like more than half of people who we shouted out our Patreon page. It's just so easy to pinpoint who this individual would be based off of his personality, his kind of cynical sense of humor, offbeat charm, just the nature of his like flirtatious personality. It's Eric Horseman.
Eric Horseman.
All right, like, I didn't even tell John who I was going to say.
It's gotta be Eric
It's
Horseman.
definitely Eric Horseman.
Or you're going
right?
for a subversion joke.
No, it's Eric Horseman.
Yeah.
Easily.
Oh, dude, if Eric Horseman met a variant of himself, do you imagine how steamy that would get?
Yeah, he'd flick it.
He would be flicking that bean all day.
He would. Eric, I don't need to say anymore. You are a Loki
You're a
variant.
Loki variant.
All right, there's nothing more to say, buddy. I love you. You rock. One day we will have a beer together. In the meantime, just know
our
you're the
glorious
assigned
purpose.
variant. It's just like, well, who is? It's Eric.
By default.
Love you, buddy.
Enjoy.